Reading from Lama Yeshe Rinpoche's book, From a Mountain in Tibet, A Monk's Journey. Brilliant and riveting, this book shows us that freedom is a choice we can all make. Gelong Dubden, author of A Monk's Guide to Happiness. We just received this in September after spending a week in the quarantine on the Holy Isle. And we start with reading the inscription. Dear Sid and Sarah, this lockdown is an imposed retreat, so it must suit you both very well, because you're supposed to be yogi and practitioner. I am sending you both my autobiography. I do hope you'll both enjoy reading it. It looks like the lockdown will last a few months more, so you will have plenty of time for it. I hope you are both well, and send you my best wishes. Lama Yeshe. So, testing.
Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Tari Turi Soha, Om Ahung Beza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum.
Nice, strong voice. It's picking it up great. Can you see the bars moving?
Yeah.
There, they go across.
Right.
The louder we are, the more they go across.
Right, yeah.
That's what I'm watching while we're practicing.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, okay.
Okay, Toby. This book is dedicated to my root guru, His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, and to my brother Choje Akong Tulku Rinpoche. It is thanks to their wisdom and compassion and tolerance that I became the person I am now. If you find anything in this story useful, it is down to them. The proceeds from this book will be equally divided between the offices of His Holiness the 17th Karmapa and the 3rd Akong Tulku, once he is found and recognized. Introduction. I was born in a place where there were no roads or motor vehicles to travel on them. No electricity, no radios to bring us the news, no shops or schools. My village was home to 12 families and the animals we tended. I was born as the tide of the Second World War was turning in favor of the Allies, and the Chinese Civil War that would lead to victory for the Communists was resuming. As a child, I knew nothing of the tumultuous times that were encroaching on my idyllic world. I didn't see a car until I was 15 years old, and when I did, it appeared to me as an inexplicable marvel. It was being driven by a Chinese soldier. Since then, I have lived in the monastery where my brother was abbot, high on the freezing desert plains of eastern Tibet. I have lived in a refugee camp on the border between Tibet and India. Then in a cramped flat in 1960s Delhi, in a drafty Victorian hunting lodge when I arrived in the UK, and in swanky private homes in London and New York. I have spent years living in a bare cell in solitary retreat, and many more years in the Buddhist monastic community of Sami Ling that my brother co-founded in the late 1960s. Now I am an old man of 77, and I still live at Sami Ling, which has been my home for most of my life. The view from my window is of green rolling hills, as it was when I was a child. But now I live near Lockerbie in Scotland, and the Tibet of my childhood is no more. My life has been far longer than I ever expected. and I am content when I survey its contours. Every turn, however challenging or unexpected, has brought me to this place, where I am able to offer reassurance and guidance to anyone who is seeking peace. This is my most deeply held wish, that more and more people will begin to tame their unquiet minds so that they may be able to live joyfully and to offer compassion to every living being on this earth. During my time as a teacher, many people have come to me with stories of hopelessness. They are so disheartened that they genuinely believe they have no chance of freeing themselves from their issues. They feel too much has already gone wrong in their lives. They tell me about the traumas they are carrying, the difficult childhood, the parent who is not there for them, the youthful transgressions, abusive or failed relationships, the addiction or bereavement, all the messy things of life that have left them feeling like a failure or irredeemably hurt and lost. I reply that their stories may appear to them to represent reality, but that I see things and see them quite differently. I insist that change is possible for every single one of us, however broken or exhausted we may feel. It's not easy. I know, but each difficult experience we have struggled with, every challenge we face, is the raw material for our transformation. All our sorrow, suffering, and confusion can be the basis for our unique process of change. Nobody is beyond hope. Sometimes the person's response is that this may be true for someone like me, a Lama, a holy man, born into a culture in which Buddhism was part of everyday life. But it doesn't apply to them. They say to me, Lama Yeshe, you are not like me. I am not like you. The implication always seems to be that they are destined to remain stuck. Well, I was born with some mystical facility for evading suffering which they themselves lack. This is not the case. I'm not that different, and I'm certainly not special. Not at all. It is true that I was born in a religious feudal system, and that I fled my homeland at the age of 15, when it was invaded by the Chinese military. I was one of a party of around 300 people that left our country to escape over the Himalaya, and only one of the group of only 13 who reached the safety of the border with India many months later. These experiences, I will admit, are unusual. But then again, I have been a refugee, an immigrant, an Asian man living in a small town where there were few other Asians. These experiences are not so unusual. Millions of people have lived them. And I have felt deep frustration and resentment, have been a disappointment to my immediate family and myself, a layabout without sense of purpose, a man desperately searching for peace. I have been selfish, self-indulgent, a failure. I have lost the person I loved most in the world. All that, I suggest, to anyone who tries to tell me why I am so different, makes me just like them. Perhaps the only thing that does distinguish me from many of those people I speak to, mainly Westerners, is that I have spent many years purifying my mind, to enable it to settle easily into positivity, rather than cling to negativity. It has not been an easy task, and I never thought it was impossible, because I have faith in the essentially positive nature of the mind. In Buddhism, mind is king. If we can change our mental orientation, then everything else will follow. This understanding is the opposite of what I've come to think of as a typical Western mindset. I've never forgotten the man who described himself to me as damaged goods. I could see the powerful hold this idea had of his own flawed nature had on him, and it shocked me because it was so alien to the way I view myself, other people, and the world. In Buddhism, we start from the understanding that there is always a part of us that is perfect and perfectly at peace. At the core of every human being is not sin or some sort of void, but an innate goodness and intelligence. We call this Buddha nature. It has been my life work to find that part of myself in order that I might demonstrate to others that they too have the potential to find their own, and so bring about personal transformation. When such a change is sought sincerely, for the express purpose of bringing more peace and happiness into the wider world, it will always come to pass. May this book offer hope and guidance to all who seek them. Starting our reflections on Lama Yeshe Losal Rinpoche's From a Mountain in Tibet, with the introduction. Now, Lama Yeshe Rinpoche starts off his book talking about the environment in which he grew up and how special that was. He was so close to nature. In his small village, where he didn't have the outside world at all, he had a lot of isolation, a lot of time to be surrounded by the people in his community and to be in nature.
That's a good environment to be in. And Mother Nature is a good teacher.
Yes.
Yes, Mother Nature is a very good teacher. And to live in a place away from the busyness of big cities and all that. And it's good. It's a good thing to happen.
It gave him a wonderful start, didn't it?
It did, yeah, having that peacefulness and joy and love, and where people came together and they told stories and they talked about it, even in spite of their hardship. They got on well and were happy, you know.
Yes.
But not all hardships is for really suffering, you know.
Yes.
Some people can get around it and just get on with life, you know.
Yes.
And take things as they come.
So he started off with a very beautiful beginning, didn't he?
Yes, that's right.
And then he's made so much of his life with his capacity to use the hardships as a means to teach others and to be able to understand where they're coming from.
That's right.
So he's gone from being a young boy in a small village to a world citizen.
Yes. Yes.
So he's come very far from where he started, and yet the root of that closeness to nature and the balance and learning from Mother Earth and being in harmony with all the natural forces and the environment has continued to be with him throughout. So the first part of the introduction was giving us a sense of this specialness of his beginning.
That's right.
And then the way in which he has helped people.
Yes. So it needs people like that in the world to help all these people. That's why, you know, the great Rinpoches, you know, they always keep reincarnating to come back. They come back to help all these beings are trapped in suffering and samsara. They come back to help them.
Yes.
You know?
So the book is part of that, part of a long lineage of teachers and masters coming back again and again to meet us where we are and to give us encouragement and support.
That's right.
When our outlook is positive and inclusive and the whole world is a part of it and all beings, it gives a life of meaningful contributions and a lot of joy and hope and encouragement to everyone that crosses Lama Yeshe Rinpoche's path. And this book is going to help us understand that through his life story.
And it should help a lot of other people too. It's probably a blessing for a lot of people.
Yes. And we're off to a good start.
Yes.
With this introduction.
Yeah, maybe people who come across and read it will start looking for a teacher.
Yes.
Those who don't have one, But the world is becoming more spiritual now anyway. There's a kind of change going on.
The change is coming that's positive.
Yes.
Connects us to our inner potential.
Yeah. Okie dokie.
Okie dokie.